Real quick, warmer weather is just around the corner. Maybe you've got those spring break plans with the family, or maybe you've already got summer on the mind. But either way, you definitely don't want to get caught in last year's sunglasses. AKILA is an independent eyewear brand out of Los Angeles, and they make handcrafted sunglasses that actually look good without the ridiculous designer markup. We're talking plant-based materials, recycled lenses, sustainable packaging. They even donate 1% of all sales to environmental nonprofits, and Make It Make Sense gets a cut too. So you know you look good and you're doing some good too. The frames all look great, they're reasonably priced, and you can get them in UV blockers, blue light blockers, and even prescription lenses. Right now, you can use the code MIMS25 at AKILA.la for 10% off your entire order. That is the best discount offer they have, and you're not going to find a better deal anywhere else. Just head to AKILA.la, that's IKILA.la, and use the code MIMS25 at checkout. The link for that is in the show notes. All right, let's get on with the show. Congress came back from spring break this week, and in less than 6 hours, a congressman resigned over allegations, another resigned over a staffer's suicide, a third is under investigation for selling grenades while lying about his finances, and a fourth got hit with 15 federal felony charges and might get expelled from Congress. No rest for the wicked. It's Thursday, April 16th. I'm Grant Herms, and this is Make It Make Sense. Now, before we get into the individual stories, I want to tell you first that just ahead, there is talk about sexual assault, sexual abuse, as well as suicide. So if that's not your thing, know that that is ahead. There are some things I want you to understand about why all of this matters right now, just to set the stage. Republicans control the House of Representatives by just 2 votes. 2. So that means every scandal, every resignation, every open seat is a potential power shift. Democrats are already expected to win big in the midterms in November, so every seat that opens early is a preview of what that could look like. So with that context, let's talk about what happened and what is happening this week. We're going to start with Eric Swalwell. Up until Monday, he was a sitting congressman and a leading Democratic candidate for governor in California, a guy who made a career going hard against Donald Trump. As of Monday, none of that is true anymore. Over the weekend, 4 women came forward with allegations of sexual misconduct against Swalwell. One describing receiving unsolicited explicit photos. Another says she ended a night out in his hotel room with no memory of how she got there, a description that matches what happens when someone has been drugged. A former staffer says she woke up in his hotel room in 2019 naked, no memory of how she got there, and then she said that she had felt that she had been raped. By Tuesday, a 5th woman had also come forward saying Swalwell had choked and raped her as well, and she says that she's also going to police. Swalwell announced that he was ending his gubernatorial campaign, and then a few hours later posted that he was resigning his seat. And his statement was, quote, he was deeply sorry for mistakes in judgment, while also claiming the most serious allegations are false. He was also stepping down because he said it wouldn't be fair to his constituents because he'd be distracted by an expulsion fight. But really, I guess that's one way to put it. It's more like, I quit so you don't investigate and then fire me. So here's why this matters politically. California has a jungle primary. 2 top finishers, regardless of the party, make the ballot in November. Right now, without Swalwell, the 2 leading candidates for governor are Republicans. That is a massive blow for Democrats in a state that is a democratically controlled state. Now, for Republicans, this is exactly the kind of thing they've been looking for after they've been unable to explain why their guy is all over the Epstein files. The question now, though, is whether this backfires when people start asking, okay, but what about the, 27 women who have accused the president, not to mention the fact that he's in the Epstein files more than Jeffrey Epstein, or that a judge has publicly said that Donald Trump was found to have raped the writer E. Jean Carroll not once, but twice in court. In California, Governor Gavin Newsom has already set the special election for Swalwell's seat for August 18th. The primary for that is in June, so this thing is moving pretty fast. The same day Swalwell resigned, so did Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez from Texas. Now, that story is less headline-grabbing, partly because it's a few months old, but in some ways, it is just as hard to sit with. Gonzalez had already said he wasn't running for re-election after it came out that he'd been having an affair with a staffer that was later revealed to be not just an affair, but a coercive sexual relationship between a boss and an employee. It launched an ethics investigation by his own party's committee, and then more details emerged. The woman at the center of that committed suicide last year. She lit herself on fire. That's not a political story. That is a human tragedy story. And it raises the same questions that are being brought up in the Swalwell scandal as well. Here's former Congresswoman Jackie Speier this week on CNN. She spearheaded the Me Too reforms in Congress a decade ago.
The real problem for me, the heartache, is that we transformed the process by which victims could approach the offices within the House to charge when they've been sexually harassed, sexually assaulted. We changed it so they were represented by attorneys, that they weren't subject to mandatory mediation, that they weren't subject to cooling off periods, and that rather than the taxpayer paying the settlement, it was the member. And we required mandatory sexual harassment training for members and staff every single year. To think that that system isn't working as robust as it is because these women were afraid to come forward, it is really tragic. And I really implore my former colleagues in the House to drill down on this and find out why and fix it. Because members like Eric Swalwell come to Congress, they get inflated, they feel like they're untouchables, and this conduct continues to happen. They can't keep their zippers up.
It is disgusting, and it is true that this kind of thing is widespread. These people get into power, and they feel like they are entitled to this kind of behavior. When I was just starting out as a reporter, I don't want to toot my own horn too much here, but I led an investigation in Oklahoma where I was working that helped uncover a lot of sexual assault, harassment, and abuse at the Oklahoma State Capitol. It was one of the first investigations that was launched at that point in time at the very beginning of Me Too at a state capitol level before they happened all over the place. And then that led to Hollywood and then D.C. But we still don't know how much of this is happening on Capitol Hill and how much of it is happening on taxpayer time and dime. Now, in Texas, Governor Greg Abbott doesn't have to call a special election for Gonzalez's seat. He could just leave it empty until November. But Democrats think they might be able to flip it either way, a seat they weren't even really targeting before this week. Not really, anyway. And we're not even done yet with this week in Congress. Florida Republican Cory Mills is also under an investigation from the House Ethics Committee that includes a restraining order filed by his girlfriend for alleged sexual assault, stolen valor allegations while he served in the military for a Bronze Star, a congressional trip to Ireland in 2023 where he allegedly sucker-punched a fan while he was there. And I want you to hear this one very specifically. Cory Mills is the head of an international weapons company where he's been selling high-explosive grenades to Middle Eastern countries, and now he's reportedly $66 million in debt. And allegedly, he's been using his office to secure federal contracts for his own businesses. He denies all of it. The Ethics Committee has had this for years. Then there's Florida Democrat Sheila Cherfilus-McCormick. She and her brother were hit several years ago with 15 federal charges for allegedly stealing $5 million in COVID relief money from FEMA, funneling it through their healthcare company to her friends and family and donors who then turned around and funneled it right back into her congressional campaign. She denies that as well. A hearing on punishment for that from the Ethics Committee is scheduled for next week. Out of all four members, though, I've talked about today, she's the only one who's actually facing criminal charges right now. So here's where we are as we zoom out. 2 seats are already vacant. 2 more could open up. When you look at the House as a total, 55 members aren't running for re-election. That's 13 Democrats and 15 Republicans who are retiring. For those of you doing fast math, I know that's 28. The others on that list are running for Senate. At least 4 more have hinted that they might announce their retirement soon. That is 3 Republicans and 1 more Democrat. On the Senate side, 4 Democrats and 7 Republicans are stepping down, which could tip the balance back towards Democrats there too. And the Republican majority right now, it is, again, just 2 votes. So if Democrats even pick up a couple of these seats before November, the entire calculation changes. Not after the midterms, before them. So this isn't just a news cycle about scandals, it's one about math and who controls Congress, and it could shift in the next few months before we ever head to the polls in ways that would have seemed impossible just a few months ago. And there is a lot more to come in all of these stories. More women may come forward. More members of Congress may be implicated. We're going to find out who knew what when about Swalwell. There are ethics hearings on Mills and that Cherfilus-McCormick meeting next week. And then the special election in California is moving ahead, and we're going to keep track of all of it here. If you want to go deeper, I just put out a piece on the Make It Make Sense Substack about a new bill in Congress this week that would create a presidential fitness commission under the 25th Amendment, and why the guys who actually wrote the amendment itself say it's exactly how it is designed to work. The link for that is in the description. And if you're new here, be sure to like and subscribe, turn on those notifications, and share this with somebody who's trying to figure out just what the hell is happening in Washington right now. It is literally why I make this show, to make this stuff make sense. Thank you so much for watching today. I'm Grant Herms, and I'll see you next time.